Incident management. So one more thing I want to say about this is that you add servers. So you're going to end up with a rack and a closet, and you've got enough room to run the wires and everything. You can fit 2 or 3 people in there working. It's a pretty big closet, right? Might be like a laundry room type of situation. And you're like, oh, this is going to work. Timber is full of it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So then a few months goes by. You've modified the air conditioner, and it's dumping cold air in the front, and you have a return in the back, so you're feeding the system properly. And now all of a sudden, the AC goes out, and now you can no longer cool the room. So you get a call in the middle of the night, you come in, you open the door, and you're feeding air with fans and everything, trying to keep everything cool, but it's not enough, right? Because the room is too small, it's not designed for that. So the problem is with these kind of closets is that you don't have redundant AC systems, so this is a problem. And not only does it have to be a redundant system, but it has to have the same capacity as the main supply system. So just keep these things in mind. If you're gonna do the data closet thing versus putting it in the cloud, you know, many people for secure applications, they wanna keep it on premise. Make sure you're following all the best practices for a data center when you're building your stuff. If you can't afford it, do it in the cloud until you can, and just figure out the security however you can. Or, you know, you need to plan accordingly for budgeting. Incident management. So now we're going to get into handling incidents. Incident management is a set of defined processes to identify, analyze, prioritize, and resolve security incidents. So an incident may be false, it may be real. Most of the time, hopefully, they'll be false. And then we're going to do these things: identify, analyze, prioritize, and handle or resolve them to restore normal service operations as quickly as possible and to prevent further recurrences of the incident. So we don't want the same kinds of incidents. For example, say they're false positives. You don't want to be dealing with those over and over and over and over. You want to find out what happened there, right? So you want to have some kind of a review and prevention process for figuring out what happened, characterize it. Is it a one-off, or is it something we're going to need to put another policy change in place for, something like that? So how do we handle incidents? We have vulnerability handling. So somebody reports a vulnerability. What do we do with it? We find it ourselves. We've got a vulnerability. What do we do with it? Can we mitigate it? Can we resolve it? Can we just say we're going to accept it? So you need a process in place for all 3 of those options, right? Artifact handling. So we've got a hard drive that was used to store something that's illegal. How do we do that? What's our process for that? You need a process in place for that. You need to have a chain of custody mechanism, a safe place to store this stuff. Announcements. How are you going to socialize things to the organization? Whom is going to socialize it, right? It has to be the right people for people to respect the message. And if they don't respect the message, all of the little minions in the company are going to go running outside the org and reporting it to everybody and their brother, which is what you do not want. You want to have a good, coherent workforce, and you want them to trust you. A sign of that is that they won't go run and report it to the next reporter down the street, okay? And then alerts. How do we alert? How do we handle alerts, right? So do we want to alert our workforce via an announcement? Or are we going to handle alerts? How do we handle them? So we got an alert, it's 3 a.m., what do we do? What happens? So we need to understand all these things. We got an alert and it's lunchtime, what happens? It's 9 a.m., what happens? Okay. So with respect to incident handling, we want to triage, like we want to go just take a look at everything, gather all the facts, and then we want to go on to reporting and detection. We want to go on to incident response, so how we're actually going to respond to this incident, and then analysis, you know, what actually happened? Do we have all of the facts right? And then other incident management services. So there's other things that you need to do, like responsible reporting if you're a public company, if you're a PCI, whom do you responsibly report to? Who needs to know about this incident? Do we have insurance matters? Do we have legal matters that we need to be concerned with? You can't just go run out and report this stuff. It's not how it works, you know. Unless it's something like kiddie porn, even in the case of kiddie porn, this is what I always tell people. If you find kiddie porn on your boss's machine, then you go to your boss's boss. But let's say that your boss and his boss are in on it together, and they're producing kiddie porn and storing it on their work computers. So you reported it to his boss because you discovered it on his machine some kind of a way. You don't go run to the police and report that. You report it to his boss. If the boss doesn't do anything about it in a very quick amount of time, then you go to the highest person in the organization that you can find. You report it to them, and if nothing's done, then you go and report it to the police. You try to get it kicked off internally first and let the right people go and report. You do not want to be drug into this any more than you have to be. So the right thing to do on the test, okay, so for the test, the CEH test, you go to the police immediately. That's what they tell you to do. But in real life, that's not how these things are handled. You want to report it internally first. They will jump all over this. They should jump all over this. If they're not, then you go up the chain as high as you can. Don't go to everybody up the chain. You go 1-2 steps, and then you go to the highest step. And if nothing's being done, then you go outside. That's the responsible thing to do. You need to protect the company, and they will take care of it. In most cases, they will take care of it. And what they're going to do is go and report it, and they'll have their legal team will jump all over it, that kind of thing. And then that's the responsible way to report, okay? But for the test, you go directly to the police, okay? You report it right to the police. You don't report it to your manager. There's a test question about this. So for the test, you report it to the police. In real life, you try to report it internally first and let them take care of it, and that way you're out of the loop. And just keep all of the information that you have. You already have the evidence that it happened. They're not going to be able to delete that, right? They're not going to change that.